But Chelsea are in a mess. Chelsea are in a goddamn mess. An absolute pile of it, they are. And what's mad about it is they're still linked to other players. Simon Phillips, who's very credible in the Chelsea space, has said that Marcus Thuram, and there's a player's name, I'm waiting for it to load, who I'm not overly familiar with. What is his name? I've got to scroll down and see his tweets now. A guy called Noni.
Plays for PSV.
He used to play for Tottenham. Noni Madueke. He's a Tottenham.
I never heard of him personally. They're advanced. Sorry, guys. They're advanced in both those deals. So they're signing more players. They've got more coming in Chelsea, but they're in a mess. Like, Nobbins, what the hell's going on with Chelsea?
Well, that's far above my pay grade, to be honest. I've no idea what's going on at Chelsea. I think it's now an amalgamation of numerous issues. The injuries aren't helping. The fact that Potter's sort of been thrown in and needs to be given time and hasn't yet been given the time isn't helping. I don't think Todd Bowley and his mental scat approach, his scattergun approach to signings is helping either. I think that Chelsea could be a very good team maybe next season or the season after. I think they're almost sort of in a transitional phase. When you're relying on like Thiago Silva is like going to be 39 years old next season. We've got two potentially bright young centre halves in what's got Badiashile and Fofana. I think next season we might be looking at a stronger Chelsea, but right now this season, I think top four is basically done. They ain't getting that in my opinion. And I think that it's just a case of not a coherent approach in respect of signings, and not really, and also some misfortune in respect of injuries. But yeah, I think, to be honest, there are far too many issues at that club for me to even begin to delve into. The fact that Potter's now, when he's trying to change the system, he's trying to change the club ethos. You got apparently got very toxic players in that Chelsea dressing room. That can't be helping with Potter being the new manager. Lots of question marks about whether he can handle big egos, etc. And for example, the Aubameyang one, I don't really get that one because evidence shows he's an incredibly toxic individual. We saw it at Dortmund in his latter days. We saw it at Arsenal in his last days. Arteta wanted out, and he quite rightly kicked him out. And now, when Tuchel's still in charge, toxic dressing room. Oh, thinks Todd Bowley, I know what to do. I will add an incredibly toxic individual into that already toxic environment. And then you add all the other issues I've just talked about, and you add on the fact that Graham Potter is in his first very big role. And the fact he's got to change the whole way they play. So lots of issues in some.
This is beautiful. Can I just say, this has been beautiful.
I'm loving it too. I can't lie.
Like, the downfall is amazing because all we heard all summer was, oh, we're getting ready. This is Potter Ball's incoming. We're spending 250 mil, all of this rubbish. And we warned them, you're signing a mixture of players that are very young that aren't really ready to take on the Premier League. Then you're signing players that are very old that look like they're past the Premier League. And they're still, like Nobbin said, it's just a scattergun approach. At the moment, they're just signing a bunch of players that don't really look like they match the system that he's trying to implement. And Potter doesn't even know what system he's trying to implement. They all look a bit confused. He's playing different squads and different teams every game. He goes from a back three to a back four, to a midfield three to a midfield two. Like, there's just constant changes in this team, and you can really see that there's a lot going on at the club that no one has a clue. I feel like you can tell it's being run by Todd Bowley, a man that's never been in football. And the sign is, like you said, Marcus Thuram doesn't worry me. Noni Madueke, he's a decent player, full of injuries, and he wasn't never the star at PSV. I mean, Gakpo was a star, and you saw him. They come and took him away, and
sounds a bit
he's just not an amazing player. So they're not making amazing signings. They're not looking like a team that's going to be a threat. And the only thing that worries all of us rival fans is, when is the budget going to stop? When is the spending going to stop? Because they can keep spending, and it's obviously going to go somewhere eventually. But right now, no, I'm not worried because it's just a mess.
Yeah. I think George makes a good point, is that every time that they're like, well, Chelsea's signing somebody, I'm like, so? Like, it's like, João Felix looked good last night, but they have some Arsenal luck going on over there. That game yesterday was something I've only seen from Arsenal, a la 2018, where you have a new player comes in, red card, boom. You know, you have more injuries. One of your best players to come in that was a loan signing gets injured as well. It just looks a mess, you know? And I'm just like, until it starts to look like something, I have nothing to fear at the moment. They can keep buying players, but there's a lot going on there. And I think ultimately, if you look at it and you take your bias aside, it's like new ownership that doesn't really know what they're doing, scattergun approach, new manager, a bunch of players that came from different regimes, and it's not going to go boom like that. But in the meantime, I'm going to laugh because they have been like one of the most arrogant fan bases for so long, and for them to just go poof like that in the middle of the night, where are they? Where are
How
they?
does it go?
I
How does
used
it go,
to remember
Jess?
the days where
Like,
there'd be mad Chelsea fans on this
how does it
show.
go, Jess? Jess, how does it go? It goes what?
Like what?
Like, how does it go? How does it go? Poof. What?
Like poof, just like that. They're gone. Like it's crazy. I love it.
You know what it is? The funny thing is, Jess, we're on the same stream in the summer, and we're telling them you guys need a rebuild, and they're saying, "No, our rebuild is not the same as your rebuild." Where's my guy David? I missed that guy. I haven't seen you in like 3 months, David. You guys have been
David,
tortured.
Daniel.
All
Where
of
you
them.
been?
I don't know why, yeah, but I've got a soft spot for Chelsea though. Like, and Graham Potter. I think it's really unfair what fans are doing to him because he ain't spent yet a penny on. I know it technically he has on Badiashile, and they got João Felix on a free. He's been thrown into this mess. It's going to be hard to get out of this mess. What does it sound like exactly? Remember when Arteta first came to Arsenal, right? It's a bit similar. I think results are a little bit similar too. I just think it's really unfair in him, man. I think these Chelsea fans are just being spoiled for way too long, and they keep doing is talking about Roman and Tuchel and the
That's
past.
us
But
right,
what does
Kat.
that sound like?
Said
It sounds
that
like
they-
Man United. Like
he
it's like,
said that
bro,
they
stop
would
it.
be
Yeah,
patient.
it's getting
said that?
ridiculous. I think, look, if it was me, if that was me, I have to put myself into that situation now, right? So if that was me supporting that club, or if that was happening at Man United, which it has, I'll be like, bin them all. Because I believe in the manager. I do believe in Graham Potter, but maybe he might be out of his depth that little bit because maybe you need a better manager you have to get the best out of this group. But I'd bin them all. Honestly, if I could this summer, I'll bid at least half that team and just go from scratch. And he's like, look, it's going to be rubbish, but you're going to have to wait, mate. You might have to finish 8th this season, 9th, but then you go again. It's just the way it goes. And these Chelsea fans, it's like, there's no point crying no more.
I hope
It
they
is what it
finish
is.
Everyone
eighth
is.
and
I think there's
fifth,
something everyone's
because they were
forgetting.
the most annoying. When we finished 8th, and 5th, you finished 8th and 5th. I hope you finished 8th and 5th.
They're gonna finish
Exactly that.
10th, Jess. Forget 8th. I was just gonna say this. Todd Bowley is 100% to blame for what's going on at Chelsea at this moment in time. Because we can blame the players, we can blame the managers. He came in and took everything and started from scratch. He got rid of all the people behind the scenes. He's gotten rid of the manager, and he's gotten rid of a lot of players have had to go and come back. So you can make fun of the players, you can make fun of the manager, but the owner has come in and he's basically started the whole club from scratch. Hence why the guy doesn't know what he's doing. And him running the club the way that it is, he should have maybe done it a little bit slower. He should have maybe eased out some of the Roman people instead of just coming in and getting rid of all of them. Because now he doesn't have the support of the people who were there originally to help him guide them out. And I think that's the main issue. They don't have any consistency or continuity from the players, the managers, the people in the back, and that all comes down to the person who owns the club.
All I would say about... Oh, sorry, Terry, go on.
No, go on, mate. Go on, mate. You go.
Oh, I was just going to say, just to cast a bit of hope for Chelsea fans. All I would say is that there's a clear, whatever you think of what Bowley's done so far, I think it largely has done a poor job, but I do sort of admire the sort of change in ethos and emphasis, because under Abramovich, essentially it was, I want to buy ready-made player who goes straight into team and is world-class, and we can win titles immediately. Bowley clearly is doing an approach of buying younger talent. I don't know what the average age of the signings is, but they all seem to be quite young. The idea being for future long-term development. So I think that if you're looking for a silver lining here, it's not going great now, but I mentioned earlier, maybe in a season or two, that Chelsea squad might be looking much healthier.
Yeah,
Let me give you an example. At Man City, did your owners come in and change everything? The manager, some of the players, and even the backroom staff in one go? Isn't that ridiculous?
Oh no, it is. Yeah, I think that as I say, Bowley definitely made some mistakes, and City made lots of mistakes when they got taken over, like splashing, allegedly trying to sign Kaka for an outrageous amount, actually signing Robinho for an outrageous amount, ditching Mark Hughes when he didn't necessarily deserve to get ditched. It took City a couple
Yeah.
years to
Mate, so you are spot on. And I mean, there was so many in the early years of City that, you know, there was the situation with, you know, a very bad email that was sent to Neda Anua's mum, I believe. You're probably familiar with that, when she was suffering with a bad illness. Like, there was loads of bad shit that happened there, but you just forget, like, people forget because it was 15 years ago and social media wasn't as prevalent. And I would say this about what Chelsea have done. Like Arsenal this season, who have been, I've said Arsenal will have a really good year. They've been even better than I expected. I've always said with Chelsea, in the medium to long term, I think they're going to be okay. There may be a bit of a drop off. The drop off has been bigger than I thought it was going to be. But my mentality towards them and my feeling towards them hasn't changed. I think that the reason that he got rid of the backroom staff and even Thomas Tuchel, I agree with you, Agal, that in the short term it's bad because you don't have anyone there that's experienced. But if you've got an ideology that you want to instill, and the people that have to run that for you completely disagree and are not bought into it, you can't have them run it. And if you ever are lucky enough to run a business and you're like, right, guys, this is the plan, and the people that are going to run it for you say, we think that plan's shit, you have to get rid of them. And in the short term, things can get really precarious, really difficult, really hard, because you have inexperienced people. You have this mixture of different, you know, employees and staff and business plans all happening at the same time. And it takes a while for things to settle, get ironed out, for the new processes to be put in place, and for quality to be seen on the other side. And I think that this is where Chelsea fans have got to relax on the sack Potter. And Carefree Lewis, for me, gets this spot on. It's players more than anybody else. I think the ownership, you can moan at them all you want. They can change their approach. They ain't going nowhere. They're not selling the club tomorrow, right? Todd Bowley's also in. If you actually look at who Todd Bowley's employed to run the club, there's some real experience in there. The problem you've got is, as Nobbins has said, Aubameyang's a prime example. I think Kai Havertz is a problem now. The guy does not want to be there under this manager. Jorginho, man, signed to play Sarri ball in 2017, and he's there now playing for Graham Potter. Like, there's so many things wrong with that club. And I actually think in this January, they're signing all these players. I think they also have to make a couple of big sacrifices. If they could find a buyer and go, Kai Havertz, you're done, as an example. You know, Jorginho, you can go now. We'll just pay you your contract up and get you out of the club now. I think they've got to make a few sacrificial lambs, as it were. Because if you look at Man United and Arsenal, that are both on rebuilds, Arsenal's is complete now. They're challenging for a title. But look at the sacrifices made by managers to help get you where you are. The players that he had to, by the way, that half your fan base said were wrong at the time. There were people saying getting rid of Ozil and getting rid of Aubameyang is going to ruin you, right? People in your fan base, you definitely said that.
Ozil, definitely not, but Aubameyang, yes.
I remember seeing the debates of people that didn't back Arteta saying that's how can he get rid of him, creative. But if we take away Ozil, definitely Aubameyang, people said that. And I think the same's going on here at Chelsea, but there's a bigger mess. And the bigger mess is that it isn't just the manager they got rid of and a few players. The ownership had to change, and it was a snapshot change. Their change went through much quicker than most club takeovers. Why? Because of what was going on with Ukraine and Russia. I get for Chelsea fans, this is painful, because the younger ones especially, they don't know this. This is not, you know, when I grew up as a kid, me and my big brother, we remember when my family had no money. We were dirt poor. My dad's business started to do better and we had a bit of money. My younger brothers, they kind of only remember my mum and dad having like money. And then we weren't rich, just they had a little bit of money, right? And then my dad's business went through a little bit of turmoil, and there was a couple of years where it was a bit tight. Me and my brother were cool with it because we grew up like that. My little brothers couldn't cope. My little brother couldn't cope with the fact he couldn't have 2 new PlayStation games a month. He thought that was like abuse. He's like, this is outrageous. And I'm like, and I was like, bruv, we were lucky if we got a new games console. Like, we got a games console at Christmas and games. We didn't get new games for 2 years when we were kids, 3 years maybe. Now, by the way, this is still first world problems. I will point that out. People around the world don't have clean water. I'm not moaning. When you're a kid, your brain don't work like that. But this is how I feel what Chelsea fans are going through. They don't understand what transition is because they've never really seen it, and it takes time. And they need to stick with Graham Potter. They need to stick with their plan, but they need to get rid of some of the poisonous players in that dressing room. Because if Aubameyang and Jorginho and a few others that don't want to be there go, you'll see an instant uplift in other individuals because you set that marker that shit, we can't take the piss here. We don't rule the roost. You saw it at Man United. The fact that Ten Hag won the battle against Ronaldo, there's been an uplift from people because if Ronaldo can't win the fight, No one else left at the club winning the fight. Ronaldo's Ronaldo. Even Piers Morgan couldn't save him. But yeah, look, Chelsea, it is definitely a mess right now. I get why you would call out Todd Bowley. I understand that completely, but there's so much going on there. I just don't think it can be resolved quickly either. It's just going to take time.
The fans have to have patience, or else they're not going to be able to last this whole season. Have patience, get ready. You're going to finish 10th. It's a bad season. Get used to it. That's it. Simple.
Yeah, and they've got to take the banter on the chin. That's the hardest bit online, is taking that banter. I mean, you're going to get it. You are now, I would say Arsenal can hand that crown over of Banter FC. I think that Chelsea certainly own that from a top 6 point of view.
I think you have to hand it over, Terry, because you had it last.
No, Man United would never Banter FC.
Pretty sure you were.